What's up, everybody? We back into another episode of In Conversation with Dre, and I'm sitting down with my buddy Amaan. We what's going on, man? We go way back.
We go decades back, man. Not just way back. We go decades. What is this? Almost like 2 decades, going towards three.
Something like that. And like I guess we can like chat about that a little bit. Like grew up in the same neighborhood. Shout out Dolly Varden, Marco
Belmer's finest.
Belmer's finest. And then like, you moved out to Edmonton. We grew up, we didn't talk for a bit. That's just like how life works. And then like life is funny, man.
Social media, man. Social media is what reconnected me with you and many others from back in the day. And there's days where I hate it, but then there's days where I keep it primarily because of the connection, right? Like if nowadays, if you don't have someone's phone number, you connect with them through social media.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe it was, I was doing a TV show at the time on the dot, and you had hit me up. You're like, yo, my brother and I got this clothing line, wondering if we could do some kind of sponsorship thing with you, whatever it is. And yeah.
It's funny because like I still remember like that hat that we had provided you, like it made its way all the way to Jamaica, and like that just still like sits with me, that like the hats or the products that we've like handed out to you and others have gone literally on travels around the world, that you're just blessed and fortunate to see that at some point or another someone's rocking your gear around the world.
Yeah, it is. And and like through that experience, like through creating, and what this is really is like, we're two people, we're hardworking, we're from the same kind of area, immigrant parents. Maybe
100%.
that's like something that has to do with it, like immigrant parents that just put something in you, first generation, you're in Canada, like, yo, our parents, we can't fail them. Like we did a good job, like they did a good job bringing us here, and like we can't fail them for any reason.
We gotta move that mantle forward, right? Like failure is not an option. Like whatever trials, difficulties, whatever you go through, like I think the thing that I connect with you the most is that optimism. We're both naturally optimistic towards whatever the scenarios may be. Like life is obviously not a linear line. It's always like peaks and valleys and ebbs and flows, but it's that optimism that keeps, I think, both of us in check with what we got going on. And in relation to like what may not be in our possession right now, we still are optimistic with how we may get to that point.
Exactly. And on that note, there's so much that we could talk about. I want to get into all of the different things that you've done, but one thing that I really, really appreciate about you, and one thing that I'd like to get into with you today, is you're probably one of the hardest workers I know. Just somebody
that's a humble thing to say, man, but I appreciate it.
Probably,
I'm sure many others, but I appreciate that comment.
Hey, look, man, I know a lot of hard workers. I like to consider myself a hard worker as well, but just in the time that we've like reconnected in our 20s and 30s, I've seen you take pictures with Floyd Mayweather. I've seen your brother do some art for Disney. He's painting Maseratis. You've done stuff with Connor McDavid and the Oilers.
Hey, shout out to the fact that you even remember the guy's name. For a guy out in Toronto, recognizing talent is what it is.
Hey, look, man, I know hockey. Okay, Connor McDavid, he's good, man. He's when I play NHL, I play with the Oilers because I like using Connor McDavid. I'm not joking. Yeah. It's hard to use somebody who's like, hockey's a different sport because I play a lot of basketball, right? 2K.
Yeah.
Hockey's like, you got to give it to the person who's the playmaker, and then like they'll do their thing with it. In basketball, it's like you pass, shoot. Yeah. You have a guy in the corner. Like,
sidebar, 2K on the new PlayStation 5, I totally hate it. Like I just feel like because there's no competition from any other like game, they've just dropped down in their like intent to actually do anything worthwhile. But yeah, getting back to like the conversation.
Do you have PS5?
My brother does.
Okay.
So he dropped it off like the other day, and I was just kind of like fooling around with it. And I don't know, man, like it's a lot of hype. Like I didn't noticeably see anything different with like the graphics. Yeah, it loads much quicker, but like I was playing it, and like it's not something that I'm gonna go and spend like $800 on. Like nothing that like I'm missing out on, to be honest. Maybe I'm becoming an older person, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not excited for 2K21. 2K20 is okay. I think they stopped trying after like 2K15.
Yeah,
Really, they just kind of like, they're like, all right, we're done here. Like we're nobody's messing with us. They don't do any marketing because everybody does
no,
their, it's just that's it. Um, but yeah, so Floyd Mayweather, Connor McDavid, sorry, Connor McDavid. That, I'm sure everybody makes that mistake. What is the thing that like drives you? Because I just feel like you're so freaking driven and you're just constantly working on yourself, constantly doing new things. Like, what's your objective here? What's the thing that keeps driving you forward?
it's just honestly like the drive for the memories and the experiences. Because like we can get caught up in like the dollars and cents behind every like venture or opportunity that may come your way, but like many people say, it's like if you don't enjoy the journey in the process of it all, then you're going to be missing out on so many experiences. And what we all have at the end of the day is when we go to bed, when we're in our thoughts, it's those memories. And if I don't achieve anything else in my life, I can still go back in my memory bank and be like, shit, I've met XYZ people, I've been to different venues, different sites, and those things are always going to be in my memory bank. And yeah, obviously we all want to hit those like those status classes or tiers in like the economic bracket, but what drives me is primarily just that experience, the journey, and just having fun with it, whatever it may be, whether that's creative, whether that's career path, just enjoy it. Because like they say, you get one chance at this life, and if we're always going to be finding like things to get down on ourselves on, then life itself is going to become miserable. So just enjoy the journey. That's my biggest thing. That's what keeps me like driven. That I want to enjoy this second. Like I've been really focusing like since like when my dad passed and a few other people passed away. Like I look at my life in 24-hour blocks. I go to sleep for 8. I go to work for 8. Now I got a few hours left in my day. How do I make sure that I utilize each of those hours and minutes and seconds? And that's what gives me that like that passion and that drive, that if something that I do today is going to benefit me for tomorrow, then just focus on today. Whatever's going to come will come. Just focus on today, and then the rest is just going to be putting on top.
Exactly, exactly. And thanks for breaking that down. And I realize that because I know you, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. People listening to this might be like, so what does this guy do? Who's this guy
Yeah,
exactly? Who's his brother? What's this? Oh, Floyd, what?
yeah,
Maybe give me a quick breakdown into what you've done, what you're doing, what your brother does, what you're into, what you're,
for
that kind of
sure.
thing.
So this was like years ago, probably almost like 10 years ago. I was still in like my undergrad program. I went to Saskatchewan for university, so shout out to Saskatoon. I love the people there, but every so often, whenever I would come back home, I would just like be on my brother's laptop, just like checking out pictures and whatnot. And I kept seeing all these cool designs. And I'm a super picky like shopper when it comes to buying clothing or anything like that. And I was asking him, I'm like, yo, who's designing all these shirts? Like, these are wicked designs. And he's like, oh, it's me. I just fool around and I put some stuff together on Photoshop. And this was probably like 2010. And I was just like, yo, why don't we like just come up with a name, put it out, just see what happens. And like they say, if it hits on the internet, the world is going to want it, like including your local city. And so he came up with the name Monster Clothing. And I was thinking, I was like, yeah, that's a cool name. But because there's Monster Energy Drink, there's Monster, the resume builder, and Monster like headphones and all of that. I was like, let's go with the French way because we're French with our like official languages in Canada. So we went with Le Monstre, and our tagline was in us all. And that's what kind of like created this whole storyline where when we put it on the internet, we created this kind of like background story that everyone has this, as we believe, an inner monster that allows you to reach your full potential, whatever that may be, whether that's career, whether that's academics, whether that's like creative. And when we put it on the internet, we started to get like likes and followers and comments that, hey, I want to buy this. Then we got an invitation to a trade show out in Vegas, and this was, I think, 2012. Yeah. And next thing you know, we spent 10 grand US. That was the most we've ever spent at that time. We took a huge gamble thinking that, like, let's just go and do this. My brother at that time was still kind of like dabbling in like being like a fine artist and like a live artist type of thing. And so I figured, I was like, we have the art, but everybody, sorry, we have the clothing, but everybody at this venue will have clothing as well. What do we do to separate ourselves from everybody else that's there? And so I was like, yo, you should bring all your art stuff, bring your brushes, bring your paint, and let's go like do live art plus the clothing. Getting our stuff across the border was an issue in itself because we brought like a full on two like hockey bags of duffels like filled with clothes, and I had to convince the border security agent that, hey, this is just for donation. I had to finesse the system a little bit and extend the truth, but we ultimately got it to Vegas. And from that point, honestly, like that was like almost the turning point, because the who's who was there at this event. It was the Magic Trade Show. We got bumped into everyone from CJ Watson to Danny Green to Mike Tyson's. People walked by and they went crazy when they saw some of the art. And when we're in Vegas, everybody knows that it's like, if you're in Vegas, like that's Floyd Mayweather's town, and he was preparing for a fight. I think it was like the Canelo fight at that time. And so I thought about it. I was like, if there's a way that we can get to his gym, if there's a way that we can get connected with him, that in itself can create like a relationship that may not be like returning the fruits of labor now, but maybe down the road if we keep some sort of like open relationship with him. And so like I'm a guy that like can end up talking and becoming best friends with the tree. Like I just talk. I'm a very extrovert personality. My brother's very introvert, and so I was the hustler. I was the communicator. I was the bridge for for the connection that were being established, while my brother was just doing his thing with his art. And one thing led to another, where we got introduced to Zab Judah's younger brother, Joe Judah. Shout out to Joe. And he's like, yo, you guys need to bring your shit to Floyd's gym tonight, and I'll introduce you to him. And so that's exactly what we did. We showed up at like 10:30 at night after spending 12 hours at the booth. So we were there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Then went right to Floyd's gym after we got a quick bite. And he was just
Crazy.
like, it was crazy because like Floyd already had known that we were like, these kids from Canada were on their way to see you, and so he actually waited for us. And the thing that like blew my mind was he was more excited to hear about our story and what we were doing in Vegas than us actually meeting him. And as they say, that was like the tipping point, because as soon as he gave us love and showed us like I appreciate your hustle, and he asked about the brand and what it's all about, and I told him the quick tagline that we believe everybody has this inner monster, and he immediately gravitated towards it. And he's like, I can fuck with that, because I had to go through that myself, where I had to get into a state of mind to believe that I was going to be the best ever. And he's like, I can see why everything is leading towards this. And so he gave us a hint. He's like, you guys need to come here, like, as long as you're in town, come to my gym after your shit. And then on the Monday, be here before like 5 p.m. So my brother was only supposed to be there for 2 days. He quit his job at TD Bank. Shout out to TD. It was a great job, but he needed to quit. Um, and I extended my trip using like some sick leave. And so one thing led to another, and I'm meeting fucking Warren Buffett at his gym on that Monday. And you got to understand the demographics of that gym is visible minorities taking over. And so when I walked into that gym, I was like, okay, there's black, there's browns, there's a couple handful of Asian people. And who is this old white guy? And I'm just like racking my brain. No one really knew who he was. He's just sitting there like inconspicuously, like as if like he's not the Billy, like one of the richest people on earth.
Right.
And so it just clicked. I'm like, that's Warren Buffett. That's why Floyd told us to come to the gym. And so I went up professional as ever. I'm like, hi, Mr. Warren, Mr. Buffett. Like, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you. We're here for this trade show. We're here from Canada. I'd love to take a picture with you. And as I'm doing that, I gave him my business card, which I really hope he still has. And next thing you know, like as I'm walking away, I get a picture with him, myself, and my brother. I overheard him. He's like, "Oh, I want to wear a hat. Everyone here is wearing a hat. I want to wear a hat." And at that time, my cousin was there, and he was wearing one of our Le Monster hats. And I was just like, yo, if you want to meet Warren? He's like, yeah, of course I do. I was like, you got to offer him your hat. And he's like, man, I can't do that. That's Warren Buffett. Like, I can't do something like that. I was like, no, we have to do that. And so I went up, introduced him, and I'm like, hey, Mr. Buffett, this is my cousin. He's a medical student, yada, yada, yada. And then I kind of nudged in. I'm like, yo, time to offer him. And he's like, hey, Mr. Buffett, do you want to wear my hat? And so he's like, you want to wear, you're offering me your hat? Hell yeah, I'll wear your hat. You want to wear my glasses? So we have a picture, the best marketing thing that we can ever have, of having Warren Buffett wearing our hat and my cousin wearing his glasses. And honestly, that was like the fuel for the rocket ship for us, and primarily my brother, where from that we got extreme utmost confidence in ourselves, in our craft, and the skills that my brother has, where we've been very, very, knock on wood, fortunate and blessed, where we've worked with almost all of the Toronto Raptors plus the organization for individual art, for team organizational arts. My brother was flown out to the Raptors playoff games against the Cleveland Cavaliers when they made it to the conference finals to do some live art activation. He's done some work with the Oilers organization at Glenn Sather's retirement banner raising thing. And go down the list, like we've really been fortunate that I'm a big believer in timing, and that was kind of like the moment where things started to fall in place, and we kind of been growing from there. I still got a 9 to 5, so I can't say I do this like on a full-time thing. Like I'm also a big believer of having multiple sources of income, and until obviously things continue to grow. I work right now with the city of Edmonton. I'm a strategic coordinator for corporate strategy, so helping with like policy and budgets and all that cool 9 to 5 stuff. But yeah, it's been one hell of a ride, man. And obviously I was very fortunate to convince you back in the day to come to LA with us. Then that's a story that we can get into down the road.
Yeah, LA. Yeah, LA was fun. Thanks for breaking that down. That's a great story. And I'm so proud of you guys for just going with it and sticking with it. And because I learned a lot from that, you telling me like, yeah, we just went and we spent all this money. I remember you telling me, you're like, yo, it's going to be this much. I'm like, are you going to do it? Like, where are you going to spend 10K? Like, all right, do it.
And at that time, the US dollar to the Canadian was like,
it was bad.
That 10K was like almost like 14, 15K.
It was bad. Yeah.
But what was wild was we came out with like, I think maybe like $1,000 profit. So we made all our money back and a little bit more. But
that's amazing.
It was the fact that we made all those relationships where, like, not to brag or anything, but like if I was to just go through the contact list or just go through the memory bank of pictures, like those are the things that are worth like it's like there's no dollar value that I can put to it, because like it's just one of those things that like we've been fortunate to accomplish and be a part of things that in some cases like you can never do, and you only are able to achieve that through like what Fred VanVleet does, right? Bet on yourself. Like you really got to bet on yourself to like hit those goals or like aspirations. Because like I've always been a big believer that we shoot for like the fucking stars, shoot for the universe. Because like even if you fall in between like wherever, you're still doing better than where you are, than where you could have been if you just kind of remained like very like in a soft approach. Like I'm not
stagnant.
saying like stagnant. Yeah, that's the best way, the best approach. Everything about my life has been avoid stagnation. From I had a permanent job, like when I mean permanent, like indeterminate, like with the government of Canada. Like there was nothing that I could have done that would have ever gotten me fired if it was obviously other than espionage or some crazy shit like that. I felt stagnant in that role that I was in, and so I left. Same thing with where I was before, and my career is like you got to take some chances on yourself, because if you don't trust yourself, or if you don't believe in yourself, I always say this, and I've told this to you many times, that if you don't believe in yourself, how do you get others to believe in yourself? Like believe in you, like whether that's asking them for investments, whether that's asking them for like guidance, you got to believe wholeheartedly in yourself before you can get anybody else to believe in you.
Right. Exactly. And that's something that I take from you as well. And that's something that I take from the story. Like I'm a person who believes in themselves, like even doing this podcast, doing the TV show that we spoke about, like who from where we're from, think about it, right? Like who from where we're from decided like, oh, I want to have my own TV show, and then writes one and then gets it onto TV, and now it's airing nationally. Like that's, you got to believe in yourself to do things.
100%. You got to bet on yourself, man, because who else is going to do that for you?
Nobody. And if you don't believe in yourself, no one's going to believe in you. Right.
Straight up.
That's just where it comes from. So you went to you didn't go to LA. We went to LA in a second, but you went to Las Vegas, another LA. You went to Las Vegas, met Floyd, met Warren Buffett. You took your clothing line down there. You and your brother kind of launched La Monstra, launched your brother's career. Now he's doing his own thing. He's doing his art thing. Maybe I could talk to him at some point.
For sure.
You come back. You get a LinkedIn DM from some guy. I think that's how the story goes. You got a LinkedIn DM from somebody in LA. He said, "Hey, I want you to help me with this event." Talk to me about that story.
So so this was, I think, 2014, give or take.
2014.
Yeah, 2014. And so at that time, there was it was a professional NFL player whose daughter was going through like some heavy stage, like I think stage 2, stage 3 cancer, and it got mainstream. It got like the attention of LeBron James and some major other athletes and entertainers like Puff Daddy and whatnot. Oh, sorry,
right.
P. Diddy.
And as of right now, it's P. Diddy. Tomorrow it might be something else.
Yeah, and so the guy reached out and he sent me this like pretty nice, well done deck, and he's like, "Hey, like I'm helping him put together this like fundraiser," and it was close to our hearts because like our dad passed away from lung cancer, and so we're like, okay, anything related to cancer, like it'll just like have a little bit more attention towards us. And obviously, when it's like a child, you're just like, okay, shit, like, am I a bad guy for saying no? So we were like, okay, let's just kind of like listen into this, and the pitch was great. Like he must have put in time into it, and he was telling us that he's got like he's a producer or some sort of executive in like Hollywood. And I was like, hey, like maybe this could be like a way to like have another intro and an avenue into like that scene and go from there. And so I commit. And when I committed, I was just like, I want to have this like documented. I want to have my boys there. I want to have like people that were like with me. And so I reached out to you and I was like, Andre, there's this event. There's XYZ happening. I sent you some information. We're going to be doing some live art. Would you want to join in? And obviously you have your background in production. So I was just like, there might be a chance where you can kind of like open up that avenue even more so out in LA.
Yeah.
And I did a good job pitching you because you were like, all right, I'm in.
Yeah, you did. And also it's LA. So LA is part of the pitch. Exactly. Like, hey, I've never been there. West Coast. It might be fun. Sure. Why not?
And I had never been to LA, let alone California or anything.
West Coast.
So I was just like, shit, let's do this. And so we get there. And we also convinced another good friend of ours, Jamal St. Kitts. Shout out to Jamal.
Shout out to Jamal.
Come through. He was with two guys that were still hella talented musicians, rappers. And they were going to do the live music. My brother was going to do live art. You were going to do some production. I was thinking, fuck, this is going to be like the trifecta. We're going to have all three things going. And then when we got there, that's when we realized there's a lot of gaziness happening in LA. You want to go into this, or should I continue?
We don't need to go into this. It's okay. But we just realized that not everybody in LA is what they appear to be, or who they say they are.
Exactly. But our optimism and our drive is what turned that into a 180. We ended up still doing the event. We ended up hustling to get a taco booth or a taco truck outside of our thing. Yeah. Our venue. We had Leslie Rosales. She's a manager for a number of different like musicians. She used to work with Nas at the time. Came out to our event. We ended up going to Baron Davis's crib in his like studio. Like we took a shit
which is
situation
crazy,
and we added some flavor to it. And that's the thing that like that's life, right? Like we have these expectations that like it's gonna go perfect and all of that. And when it doesn't, it's the person. Like, how do you take a situation that clearly you're disappointed? Because I punched a hole in the wall when I saw the venue, so I was upset.
You did.
But how do you take a shitty situation and how do you find the silver lining? And we did, and it was something that honest to God, I'll do it 10 times out of 10 times. I'll always do that. I'll always take that trip again, because those memories are what we always laugh at the end of the day, and it gives us that like experience that if we could do it there, we can do this shit anywhere.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I'll do that again because my wallet might have
Yeah,
something, my wallet might
yeah.
have something to say about that. But
The
but
Airbnb was a trip too. We had 7 guys,
Airbnb,
2 bedroom or three, yeah, 2 bedroom house.
was it a 2 bedroom?
I
There's
think
like
so,
four
because
of us in one room, I remember.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I'm sure it was a 2 bedroom.
it was a two
Eight
bedroom.
guys, 2 bedroom apartment. We weren't even supposed to be there. Neighbors are looking at us like, who are these guys? What are they doing here? A
Sneaking
bunch
in
of
through the
black
garage.
guys and sneaking in through the garage, bunch of black
Yeah,
guys in this like white neighborhood. It's like, okay, this is not
it was in West
right.
Hollywood, so it was definitely one of the more upper classes of Hollywood. It was nearby
Yeah,
a few what's it called, like synagogues. So like we at least knew that it was
that's
safe and
right.
secure, but
That's
we
yeah.
definitely stood out.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, but like in all of these stories, I think the lessons are just believe in yourself, bet on yourself, go in head first, and make the most of it, no matter what happens.
100%,
And
100%.
it takes a certain person to want to do that. And I don't know if you've always been that kind of person. I haven't always been that kind of person. It just takes maybe one experience, and then you're like, oh, maybe I could do this again. So like, let's go back and was there a time in your life where you thought of, I think I can do this, and then you tried it, and you're like, oh, if I just believe in myself, then maybe I can actually do things. Like, is there a time in your life that you can kind of pinpoint and like, yes, that
I
what
think honestly, like I've been working since like I think I was like in like grade 7 or grade 8, like different jobs. And the one job where I had to like sell was when I worked at Future Shop.
Mhm.
And there was like almost like a moment of like where I like conviction or something, where I had a basketball game early in the day, and then I had to go to work. And so I had to almost switch up my mind state, that I was focusing on the game, and then I had to come to work and I had to sell. And so that was almost that point where I was just like, yo, like I can still do multiple things and still be good at them, as long as like I have that focus. And just the experience of working, being around so many different people, and adjusting like what you're presenting about to your targeted audience, that's just given me that experience where I am today. And I think that would be probably like one of the moments where, if I look back now, like what kind of like made me think, okay, I can do something. I have this gift of gab. What can I do with it? And obviously, sales is a given. Like if you're a good communicator, you can sell.
Mhm.
And if I can sell a product, why can't I sell myself?
Mhm.
Like not like sell my soul or anything, but I'm saying like sell myself to like the greater public.
Right. Yeah. I don't think anybody was thinking sell your soul.
Yeah,
I don't think anybody went there. Yeah.
that's
I
my wife
guess.
walking in the background.
Oh, hey, hey, wife. How's it going? um, yeah. I mean, and the reason I'm asking is because for me, I can pinpoint exactly when it was. And I was about 12 years old, and it was the summer. And I remember thinking, I have so much energy. I want to work. I want to make money, but I can't. I'm 12, and in Ontario, you got to be 16, I think it is, to work legally or to get paid, employed.
Yeah,
So I just finished. I used to, mow the lawn, obviously, my parents' house, and then I'm across the street talking to one of the neighbors, and I'm just kind of thinking, like, just talking, speaking out loud, like, oh, what could I do? I wonder what I could do. I don't know. And then he looks over at my lawn, and he's like, well, you did a really good job mowing the lawn. Why don't you mow lawns? And I'm like, of course. And I remember
yeah,
what I thought in that moment was, no one can stop me. No one can tell me that I can't do this. So what did I
100%.
do that day? I grabbed the lawnmower. I went door to door, knocking on every door. And I said, hey, can I mow your lawn for 20 bucks? Hey, can I mow your lawn for 20 bucks? And I got a couple no's and I got a couple yeses.
Yeah.
And I did that all summer. And then in the winter, I did that shoveling driveways.
You know, it's funny. Like that story reminds me of when I ended up doing a door-to-door sales job. And this was probably another moment where I was just like, yo, I'm good at talking. I was selling knives, bro, post 9/11. I was going door to door as a brown Muslim guy, selling knives to beautiful white people. And they were looking to buy knives from me. And that story like just like gave me like a big flashback in my head that like, bro, remember when you were selling knives? And like, if you can sell knives, you can sell anything.
That's pretty crazy. Like, hey, 9/11 just passed. There's this Muslim guy at the door selling knives. Do you want to you want to let him in? You want to buy his knives?
Yeah, I was convinced that like this was the best job to do because they had a pretty crazy bonus structure, and they were like, oh, you can go to like Vancouver if you hit certain targets. And
Right. Yeah.
after
Of
a while,
course.
I realized I'm selling knives. This is not the way. This
That's
is
right.
not what's gonna get me into where I want to get to. But once again, it was that experience in the sense that you're doing something so like unique, right?
Yeah.
And I think that uniqueness of that job has helped me in the sense that we're unique in the fact that we're artists, we're creative people as visible minorities from Pakistan, where, as you know, like being the kids of immigrant parents, they want us to go into medicine, engineering, accounting, whatever. And if you don't do that, you're then considered like a failure. But
Mhm.
all of those things makes our journey and our story that much more unique.
Exactly. They just want to see you do something that they know works because they've seen it work before. So just go into one of these boxes.
Exactly.
Um, I know you got to get out of here soon, so I want to just, I guess, end off on just one last note. As we've already identified, you're somebody that's like worked your butt off. You've had to change and grow over the years. We're in our 30s now. You weren't always where you're at now, and you've learned a lot about yourself, and you've achieved a lot in your career. And congratulations for that.
Appreciate it. Likewise.
What would you say to the 20-year-old Amaan or another 20-year-old Amaan or 15-year-old who's like, I don't know what to do. I don't really believe in myself. How do you find your passion? How do you do the thing that you want to do? And how do you believe in yourself to go ahead and do that? You have the floor.
The one thing that I would say is like, whatever that may be, like we have our doubt is, I think, a part of life. Like but you have to look at it in like a holistic like perspective that whatever we're trying to achieve, I've always told myself that put your best foot forward, like whether that's academically, whether that's through the career path, and just shoot your shot. Like as the kids say these days, just shoot it, because worst case you miss, but best case something actually works out for yourself. And it's funny, from the times that we were trading pogs to NBA collector cards, you had to make that offer to the other person that, hey, I will trade you this for your thing. If you didn't actually make that offer, you wouldn't know if someone would accept it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's like the approach that I'm just taking, and I would tell myself at a younger age, or any listener that's in that demographic that's like still like trying to figure out what they want to do, just try it. Like obviously, like if it's going to take time, then just know that you got to put in the effort, you got to actually commit to it, you got to put in the hours, because success is never made overnight. No one looks at the journey, like as far as like Instagram and all the social media, they just show you the success. Like the grind is real, and like Norman Powell says, you got to understand the grind to get to where you want to get to, but you got to at least start the first step, because everybody knows becoming a doctor is hard work, but you got to start somewhere. So it's the same thing, especially in today's day and age. If you want to do something creative, you got to start. And so doubt is always going to be there. I have doubts throughout the day, through even today, but like you got to have that overwhelming outlook that if I don't do it, will I live with regret? And I've always been the person that I don't want to look at my life when I'm 50, 60, if I get to see the day that, oh, when I was younger, when I was in my 30s or 20s, I could have done XYZ. I want to do that shit now, so that when I'm down the road, when I'm like later in life with you, we can be like, damn, bro, remember when we did that? Remember, even if it didn't work out, we still did it. That would be like my biggest takeaway and biggest like piece of advice to everyone, is that just do it. Like Nike says, literally just do it. Because like what's the absolute worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. Shit, all right, we refine our message, we refine our work, and we try it again. It's like we shoot our shots in our DMs and all the DMs and all that, trying to get a girl, but like at the end of the day, if you didn't shoot that shot, you wouldn't have no idea whether that would actually work or not. So it's like the same thing that I repeat to myself, that like apply to that job or apply for this opportunity. Worst case, it doesn't happen, but just work on it, because and believe in yourself, man. Because at the end of the day, like I try to like ground myself in the sense that like I have so much that I have to be appreciative of, but I also will have so much that I still want to accomplish. So just keep going with it. Be focused with what you want to do. Enjoy the small things, especially to keep yourself like grounded, and then just have that universal picture that you want to achieve XYZ, but just you got to start somewhere. Somehow, some way, you got to do it.
Exactly. And that's actually one of my favorite Jay-Z tracks. Somehow, some way. Is it Jay-Z or is it
Let's
Beanie
go with Jay-Z.
Siegel? I think it's Jay-Z. I think it's Jay-Z. Somehow, some way, we gotta make it about the hood someday. Amaan, thank you for your
100%, bro.
time.
Likewise, bro.
Yeah,
Likewise.
I really appreciate your time. Appreciate the memories and hoping to build some more with you when we're out of this COVID business.
Oh,
Vaccines are out.
tons. Yeah. Yeah. You sent me
I
that link today that it's being delivered. That's a topic that we can get into, but like we
Another
just don't
time.
have time right now.
Yeah, another time. That's definitely something we got to get into. If you're working on anything, let us know how we can find you. How we can find your brother. What's coming up next for you.
Yeah, for sure. You can find us on obviously social media. Mine's Undisputed Truth 87 because obviously anything that I say is in the undisputed truthful fashion. My brother's is Amaan Hameed Studios. I'm sure you'll put in.
I'll put it down. Yeah. So, yeah.
And
we'll do that.
Just because you're my guy, like I decided to dabble in some creative writing, and maybe we have a show coming out, but let's see what happens. I'd love to like discuss and showcase to the world more about the first world problems, and not just obviously being a Muslim in Canada, but also just being a kid of an immigrant, and what you all kind of go through, like the differences, but also the similarities of being first generation Canadians. And so I think it'd be funny to talk about and funny to show in a comedy drama series. But yeah, it's all about just doing cool things, right? And I love to just continue to do that. And if this could become obviously our MO, then that's all it's about. And yeah, man, like I'm just fortunate and thankful that you took time out of your day, out of your busy day, to give me some time to talk, and hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah, 100%, man. Got to get you on again and do a nice longer form episode. Talk about the vaccine. Talk about how white supremacy or something like that.
We can talk about a lot of stuff, my friend. We can talk a lot about like systematic racism that we people of color, even though we're born and raised in Canada, we go through. Like I still get asked, "Where are you from? When did you come here?
You don't have an accent. Did you come here?" Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, or the whole situation at the airport when you're coming into LA.
Oh,
that's a whole. Let's like. Yeah. That's a whole other story. Do you want to tell it? Do you have time?
I got 2 minutes, so like I'll just make it like a quick elevator pitch.
Let's hear it.
I was told to give my full family's background info from me, my siblings, my parents, my deceased grandparents, when we came to Pakistan, because obviously before 1947 it was just India. When did our family come to India? They wanted it all. So at some point CBSA or the US border agents still have that information. This was during the Obama administration. And what's fucked up is that the 3 times that I've gone to the United States during the Trump administration, not once was I ever asked for additional questions. So I don't know.
I mean, a dude was literally trying to build a wall.
He actually asked me when we were coming to LA if I was a terrorist as my last question. And I was like floored. I was just like, no, what? I'm just trying to go have fun in LA, bro.
Are you a terrorist? Wow, what a question.
Legit. And I, at that time, I was working with the government of Canada. So I took my ID because that is considered federal government ID. So I had to show him, I'm like, bro, like I'm literally you just in an office. I'm an investigator and I'm looking for fraudulent claims on EI. And at that point, he finally clicked, hey, this guy's not a terrorist. He's just a regular person. Yeah.
You are a regular person, but cool. All right, Amaan, I know you got to go. I don't want to hold you up. I know your wife is there, but thanks for your time, man. Let's chat soon.
Anytime, bro. Okay, take it easy.
Peace.
Bye.